Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Football Pundits. We've had 3 days of Premier League action now, and we're all really
Yes.
excited. There's been a whole lot of changes that we've seen due to post COVID measures, of course. And today's episode is going to be looking at just those. We're going to be started off with the main thing I think that everyone was on everyone's mind, and that's the FIFA crowd noises. What did you think about
Dude,
that?
when I watched that Borussia Dortmund game coming back, right, when football was back, not just Premier League, um, it was nice to have football back, but then it kind of felt like, I know disrespect to Indian football, it's come a long way, but it felt like watching Indian football maybe 10 years ago on television. You can actually hear the coaches
Yeah.
shouting, you can hear the players shouting, there's no atmosphere, there's no energy, there's no excitement. I think Premier League have really done well for themselves to crack this FIFA deal and bring in that crowd noise. Yes, it isn't very accurate. When a goal is scored, for example, there's no real uppity of the atmosphere or the effects. But throughout the game, there is that buzz that keeps you engaged, keeps you locked into the match. And for a lot of people who are watching this, I must tell you that this was only for us viewers on broadcast. The players didn't actually have any sort of crowd noise, but
Any
they had
noise.
something else that I think was really special, which Kern will come to later. So this episode today, we're going to, rewind on the restart. We're going to rewind on what has happened with Project Restart so far. We've watched a few games now, and Annie, I really want to know what the deal is with these halftime breaks. Yeah, what are these quarter breaks all about?
So I'll get into the halftime breaks. So I'll put a break right here, guys. Just don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Let us know what you don't like about our content as well, and maybe we'll change it up, or maybe we'll just do some banter back and forth and keep it going.
What if they
Coming
don't
back
like
to
you?
our sucks for them. I'm not going anywhere. So coming back to the halftime breaks in the game, the breaks in per half. So this was done ideally to keep the players feeling fresh because the games are, spaced out every 3 or 4 days only. And they're about 9 games per side. So it felt that keeping, along with the 5 substitutions, the side rule, keeping the players fresh basically. What's happening though is very interesting. If we saw the City versus Arsenal game to begin with, Arsenal had a great start apart from their injuries. Right after the tactical break, Man City came back. A Pep Guardiola just needs that 30 seconds with his players, right? And he got the game going. If you see yesterday's game, United was struggling in the start. Tottenham were running riot almost at us, right? Oleg just did about enough for me, although the goal was unfortunate, right? So the other part of this is that David De Gea, who is prone to errors, I feel him and Maguire never got back after the restart. That break kind of distracted them. It also
You're
has
saying it
negative
kills it
impacts.
kills the intensity, kills momentum for
So
teams. I think.
tactically, it's great because one side is helping
Yeah.
one side get back into the game, but then players need to catch up because Maguire and De Gea didn't catch up. They
I
look
found.
completely out of it, and it's
Yeah.
embarrassing for professional footballers to be coming on as if they're coming on in a friendly game. That's what Maguire and De Gea look like. The body language a minute before said that they were very casual. So it's a good thing, but it's also a player mentality thing which they have to get used to.
I found one thing very cute about this quarter break, which is the reason behind it also, which is, you can't have bottles lying around now, players just picking up sippers like we're used to seeing Lucozade bottles, sipping, throwing, sharing. I think that's something that's changed. And the second thing is, I don't know if you'll notice this, but after the quarter break, you could actually see sanitization stewards coming and sanitizing the area entirely. So sport has obviously
Right.
changed, hasn't it, Kern? And fan experiences, player experiences have changed entirely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that you mentioned in this aspect was the was the fan noise, and I think that just gives comfort, more than
Sorry,
anything.
Karan. I just want to add that Abhishek clearly has no issues with fan interruption right now. He's enjoying the attention. Go back
Oh
to
my
it.
goodness.
uh, I mean, so obviously fan experience obviously
Yeah.
is new because I think, and that's what Premier League is trying to not keep it that new. They're trying to give us the comfort with, as you said, the fan interaction. But the new things that would happen, and I was a part of this, was the fan wall. So the screens that you see in the stadiums now have the fans of each teams that are part of
Right,
those.
right.
And this feed is also fed to broadcast. And then, its fans are basically watching, but they're right there. And the interesting part for me is when this hit me was that these are the only fans that the players can see as well if they choose to look up and see the screens.
And it
So
was so
these,
good. Sorry, it was so great, right? For Man City game, they left couple of blocks empty. So for the City fans, it's like a normal match day, right? It was so good.
That's right.
to make it very realistic, yeah. So it was pretty interesting, and it also just points towards. I mean, I see this probably continuing even after fans are allowed
Yeah.
back into the stadium,
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of having some people at home to get their reactions, right? So it might not just be single screens. They might do it with pubs. They might do, when there's more people around. But broadcasters might now want to look at more fan reactions.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how people are reacting everywhere. For people like me who were on it, it becomes a little weird because I could not snack, which is
Yeah.
my general wish and want during a game, because they're like, oh my god, I don't want the people to be seeing me stuff my face. But I think it's an interesting thing what broadcasters are trying to do and add.
You
Or
think
spill
there's a
beer on yourself. Or,
monetization?
I can imagine, Kern having beer, spilling it on himself and looking around in the stadium like, there's a guy literally right there just doing not know what to do.
Yeah, and
I don't
when
know
I
that.
think last time when Son or Kane were about to take a shot, you could see Kern doing something like that on the
I think we
screen to
caught
sort of
him.
distract
We
them.
caught him there.
But you know what, Karan, you're a student of sports management and you've recently sort of completed or on the verge of completing a degree from Sheffield. Don't you think there's a futuristic monetization angle also to this with bringing in digital spectators into a live match? I think
100%.
I think that could be a game changer for broadcast as well. Imagine monetizing the digital part of bringing in more fans into the collective stadium experience.
Yeah, of course. I mean, see, anyway, second screening is a big thing that people are tapping into, right? Like broadcasters and all want to tap into people who are sitting at home and using the other screen. So how do you engage them more? How
Yeah.
do you get more of these fans on the screen rather than just the stadium experience? How do you enhance the outside aspect of it?
Yeah.
Add logos on them, give them free merchandise to wear. They are happy. Broadcasters are happy. Sponsors are happy. So this whole thing, it was just what started as probably just a stopgap solution to make things
Yeah.
interesting, but actually just accelerate how viewing experience was probably were going 3 or 4 years down the line. Might just see it within the next 6 months.
If I can add to this, what Abhishek and you are saying is simple. If you can sum that up, right? Basically, international fan bases, right, is what got the
Yeah.
Premier League the blockbuster exposure to the world, which pumped in so much money in. The other leagues have picked up on it about a couple of years back now. So now they've actually, like you guys mentioned, by pure accident, they found another way to just reach out to fans and keep our international fan base, supporters club happy. And that's what we want as fans, right? To be made to feel part of that structure. And by structure,
True.
I mean the brick and mortar of the club, of our club.
Mm.
So, I think we're talking about the impact of, the spectatorless stadiums in this. Let's go more into that, right? How do you think there's an impact on the players as well?
I think two points of impact here, like you mentioned, players and referees, and happy to speak about players first because I often think about it myself. When we've played football for college, and when you've had even at a college basic ground grassroots level, when you have 25 fans standing on the side chanting, yelling your name, it really pumps you up. It actually affects your game. It makes you go for that last ditch tackle a little faster. It makes you elbow. It adds that feistiness to your game. Versus playing without any fans, quiet, where you can hear the manager constantly bark at you. I think it impacts match intensity big time. And I saw it, I thought, firsthand in two matches. I think match one, Aston Villa, Sheffield, agreed that players haven't played for 100 days and it was always going to be like a preseason friendly. But there was a lack of match intensity. Even Tottenham United, I felt the game really started after the 40th minute. When both teams well and truly settled, there was some rhythm in the game, but then there was halftime right after that.
So 100%, because if you saw the Aston Villa game you mentioned rightly, in a relegation threatened side, right? You've seen historically that the home side gets behind their team. They really rile them up. I feel Aston Villa with home support, actual supporters would have taken that game. But go to your point.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree because, you could see even towards the end of the game, the last 7-8 minutes, where players are so tired. They were just walking across the field. That is when the fan needs to come in and push you. And I think the other side of that is also on the referees, that sort of effort, that sort of pressure on the referees in the last few minutes or throughout the game, in fact, is a huge thing. Like yesterday when Lamela flew in with the tackles as a star, probably because he wanted to hype himself up with new fans. In general, there would have been probably the away fans barking at the referee. So by that second or third tackle, there'd been more, cards out. So I think that's probably going to make a difference on the referees. Not under that much pressure anymore to, to dish those cards and to, just go Hail Mary with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically Aston Villa and Tottenham, as we were trying to say, the home advantage didn't really work for them. It really had to be built up by themselves, by the players, for themselves, right? It really doesn't exist anymore. It's basically just playing as good as playing at a neutral venue, if anything, and just kicking the ball about and just giving it your best.
just imagine we've got a Merseyside derby coming up, and honestly, I think Merseyside derbies are probably just the most loudest derby. And I'm not saying it's the most passionate derby, but it's just the most loudest derby in English football, and you can actually see the impact it makes on the players when they're playing. We have a Merseyside derby this weekend, and it's going to be like a preseason friendly at the Aon Training Complex. Yeah, it's going to be something like that.
And on the referees, you can see the referees always pressurized to give red cards in the derbies. Historically, one of the derbies has most red cards in it. Here the referee might just have an easy game. You just never know.
Yeah, I think we've summed all of this up really well. Just there's so much change that's coming. It's really exciting to see all of this. The Merseyside derby is definitely going to be a big one to see, and we will be doing a preview on that. So watch out this channel for that video before the game. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Football Pundits. Please don't forget to hit subscribe, leave your comments, follow us everywhere. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you in the next episode.